All right, so I am back. I'm going to do another top 100 beyond the 100. As you can see, Katie's not here. She left the night of this recording to go watch a Lizzo concert. So she's out with some friends, listening to some music that I don't particularly like. So figured I'd make a video. So enough talking. Let's jump into it. Today's video will be numbers 155 through 136. And the first one on that list is a game that I don't own, so I'll throw a picture of it up somewhere around here. And it's called Tricky Tides. So that is number 155, Tricky Tides. So what this game is it's a trick-taking game with some pick up and deliver. So you're using these cards to try to take tricks. So playing euchre, but you only want to play one card, so whoever wins that trick will get to determine what order you're moving on this map and when you're going to do it. So, or what way you're going to move. So I think the lower numbers are going to let you move in more limited ways, and the higher numbers let you move in a, multiple ways, or maybe vice versa. But either way, you're trying to move this little boat around to pick up cubes, and then you're trying to move the boat around to drop off cubes and get these cards. You're trying to collect certain types of cards that match a sea monster that you had to score extra points. You're going to do that, I think, over 6 rounds or something like that. I can't remember, but it's over a number of rounds, and whoever has the most points is the winner. This is a really fun game. It has really nice production, really nice art. So I enjoy it. So that's my number 155, Tricky Tides. 154 is another game I don't have, but I do enjoy it quite a bit, and I've played both versions of it, Clank and Clank in Space. But number 154 is Clank, the original. I think I like Clank in Space better. It might have even been in my top 100. But this is fine too. It's a deck building game, but you're using the cards to travel into this like underground dragon lair to grab these artifacts, to grab some keys and a whole bunch of stuff to score points. The trick here is, in order to score the points that you get down in the dungeon, you got to make it back up above ground before the dragon comes alive and either kills you or everybody else is out except for you. It's a really fun game if you like deck builders, but you think deck builders are kind of too simple and you want a little more to go with it. Maybe try this because it gives you the little board piece as well, and it's super fun. So 154, Clank. All right, so 153 is a game I actually do have, and it's a re-implementation of a game from Philip Dubarry called Kingdom of Solomon, and this game is called Wisdom of Solomon. So this is essentially, let's see, what is this? This is essentially a worker placement game where you're sending out these little pawns to different locations to try to rebuild a temple, build some buildings, collect some resources to turn those into build some buildings, and as per usual, you're trying to get the most points. This one is, I like it because it's about building the temple back in Solomon's time, so it's kind of a biblical theme, and I dig that. But even if you're not into that, it would still be a fun worker placement game that is enjoyable. Kingdom of Solomon is kind of the same thing as a worker placement. You're going there, but some of the rules are a little clunkier in that one. So this is definitely the one you should pick up if you're interested. So my number 153, Wisdom of Solomon. All right, so my number 152 is a game from Days of Wonder. I think this might actually be one of the first Days of Wonder games that I bought, and it's not Ticket to Ride. It is Small World. So this is the base game plus like 4 or 5 expansions in here. I took out the insert so I could fit it all in one box because having multiple boxes is annoying. But essentially what this game is it's a area control game, kind of. You have these races with a special ability. So there's like angry orcs or whatever. And they all have special powers. They all have special abilities. So you're going to have 2 special abilities per different civilization that you have. What you're going to do is you're going to take these cardboard tokens and you're going to put them out on the board. The trick here is, in order to take an area that's currently occupied by somebody else, you have to put one more token down that's currently on that section of the map. So say you were trying to take over 2 guys that were on a mountain. Well, the mountains are cardboard. The 2 guys are cardboard. So that's going to take 4 guys because there's 3 other cardboard pieces there. It's a really straightforward game. It's easy to play. It's super fun. You're doing it over, I think, well, depending on the player count, it might be different rounds. And there's 4 different boards. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 player maps, which is kind of nice. It's super customizable. So yeah, if you like area control, but you don't want one that's super mean, this one feels less mean because even when your people get wiped out, you're still going to have a new civilization that's going to come in, and you're going to keep playing. So yeah, you might get knocked out, but then you're going to come right back. So it's not as irritating as like Risk when you get knocked out and then you have that one guy that you're just moving around for 4 hours. Yeah, nothing like that. So my number 152, Small World. Number 151 is a game that I had that I no longer have. I traded it for something that I wanted more. And it is a worker placement game about Vikings, and it is called Raiders of the North Sea. This is a fine game. It's a good worker placement game. It has some cool ideas where you're basically going to take a worker, you're going to put it down on the board to take one action. Then you're going to take another worker that's on the board and you're going to pick it up. So if you say you wanted to go fight some villages and do some raiding, you would go take your guy, put it on the board, then you would get to capture all that stuff, then you go take another action, or you get to take a guy back from the area that you defeated. So it's pretty neat. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to use worker placement, but I like other games that do this better. I just feel like it's fun, but it's just not, it doesn't have, outside of that one piece, it's just standard worker placement, and I'd rather play other games over that. So that's why it's not in my collection anymore. And that's number 151, Raiders of the North Sea. All right, so next up is a big boy. Big boy. By big boy, I mean big box. I mean, the game's kind of beefy too, but not really. And that is Shogun, the big box. This is from designer Durkin, Queen Games. I think everybody kind of knows what this game is. It's a war type game. I use that term loosely. It's a Euro war game, because what you're trying to do is you have 10 places on this player board, and you're using these cards of these locations that you have under your control, and you're taking these cards, putting them face down, kind of doing some blind, pre-programming thing to take certain actions with these cards. So say I wanted to go collect taxes from somebody. I would maybe take the card of the, I'm not sure what they are, territory, colony, whatever, that has the highest tax money, and I would put it down on that area. Then I'm going to flip it when that turn in the order comes up, and I'm going to collect tax. The trick here is somebody may be trying to attack that area where I am trying to collect tax, and when it comes to that, if I lost, I may not be able to take that action anymore because they'll take my card. The other cool thing about this is battles that are tournament through the cube tower. This may be one of the first games that had a cube tower. I don't really know. I just know I like the cube tower and it's fun. So if you like Euro games and you don't really like war games, but you like the idea of a war game, then I definitely say check this out, because it's essentially a Euro game with some war game elements. By war game elements, I mean throwing dice in the dice cube, the dice tower, whatever color comes out is the side that wins the battle. So that's it. I dig it. It's fun. I don't get to play it a ton because you need 3 players, and it's kind of a beast to set up and teach. So that's my number 150, Shogun. Number 149 is a game from Stefan Feld. I like Stefan Feld quite a bit. He's on my list a lot. In the top 100, he's in there a couple times. And one of my favorite games will be coming up in the next couple weeks on the podcast, so stay tuned. But number 149 is a super light game from him that I really, really enjoy. And it is called La Isla. I don't know why this game doesn't get more love than it does. It's always on discount for some reason, but I find it really fun. So what you're doing in this game is everyone has 3 cards. They're going to have 3 cards per round. Or 4 cards, I'm not sure. You're going to have 3 or 4 cards in your hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to assign those cards to different areas on your board. One of the cards is the cards are multi-use, so they'll have a thing at the top, they'll have a area at the bottom that gives you something else, and then they'll have 2 other things at the bottom that are going to adjust the track and give you resources. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the cards, you're going to put it on this little player board area that you have, and it's going to let you have a player power that you can tuck into your player board throughout the game. There's 3 cards always showing, so eventually you're going to start covering stuff up. Then you're going to put another card face down to try to get resources, so you're going to use the card for the color resource that's on it. Maybe it'll go with some of the cards you have tucked. Then you're going to place some workers out on this board to try to encapsulate these creatures that are on the island. If you can get all of your guys around a certain specimen, then you take the token, you score some points, you move some tracks up, it's cool. Then you're going to take a card and you're going to put it at the very last space on your player board, and you're going to try to move up certain animals to make their point values worth more. So it's a super simple game. It plays no matter how many people you're playing with in about the same amount of time, because everybody's kind of doing the same thing all at once, except for putting people out on the board. So if you like Feld and you like the way he does stuff, maybe check this out. It's a good entry because it's super easy and it doesn't actually look as awful as some. Like you can look at the back, it actually has some colors. There's some green and, you know, has little minis and stuff. Minis, they're plastic figures, whatever. I don't know minis. I'm just saying. They're not cubes. They're little dudes. So my number 149, La Isla. Number 148 is a game about building the city of Burano or something, but it's called, aptly enough, Burano. So what you're doing in this game is, it's kind of a beefy Euro. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to move these boats around these little islands to try to get some area control. Then you're going to try to do some fishing to catch different types of fish to do some set collection. Then you're going to try to build these different colored cube block buildings to put roofs on top. They're going to score you a whole bunch of buildings and points. It's one of those things where you're doing a lot of stuff to get a lot of points, but the way you do it is kind of interesting. So everyone has this player board, and what you're going to do at the beginning of every round is you're going to take some cubes and you're going to stack up into this pyramid. I think it's a 6x4 or something, 6x4 by 2x1 something, and that's going to determine what actions you're going to be able to do, because every color cube is going to determine a different action that you can take. So you're going to have to take it. It's kind of mahjong. So when you take a cube off the top, it's going to reveal some other ones that you can take. They always have to be free from something being on top of it, so you can take it out. So you're going to take some cubes, and then depending on what color that cube is going to determine what action you're going to take. So you're trying to pre-program all these moves, and you're also trying to look at all these other actions that you can do. It's a pretty thinky game. It's beefy. It's heady. It takes a little bit to play, but I enjoy it. So my number 148, Burano. Number 147 is probably one of the Uwe Rosenberg games that I played the most. It's a little card game, and I love it. And it is called Bonanza. Everybody kind of knows what this game is. It's a game where you're bean farmers and you're trying to plant certain types of beans in your fields. Each field can only hold one type of bean. So say I'm collecting some red beans and some chili beans. If I want to plant other types of beans, I'm going to have to harvest one of those beans and hopefully score some points, because you have to have a certain amount of beans to get some coins. That's it. The trick with this one is at the end of every player's turn, you're going to do some auctioning or trading, I guess, and you're going to either give people some cards and they give you cards, or you're just going to take both cards and you have to plant them. And whoever has the most coins at the end of the game is a winner. That's essentially the game. There's a butt ton of expansions. We have ladies and gangsters or something. Just adds a little more depth to the game. Doesn't really change it a ton, but just gives it a little more replayability. So what is this, number 147? Bonanza. 146 is another game I don't have. I did have it, but I traded it because somebody's going to give me something really cool for it, and now I can't even remember, so irrelevant. But it's called Archaeology, the New Expedition, or Archaeology, the old one, whatever, it doesn't matter. Similar. The new one just looks nicer, and I think has a few different other mechanisms. So what this is a game where really the rule is draw a card, play cards, and what you're trying to do is you are trying to build, it's a set collection game, you're trying to build sets of different artifacts that you're digging up on these expeditions to score a pile of points. The trick here is there's going to occasionally be some thieves that come from other people and they're going to steal cards from in your hand, or there might be a sandstorm that comes and it's going to wipe out half the cards in your hand unless you have some protection, which is like a tent or something, which is only going to work once per the game. So you're trying to hold up to get as many cards as you can, but you don't want to hold too long, and then a sandstorm comes and it wipes out all your cards and they go to the market, people can buy them, and it's a big ordeal. So this is one of my favorite card games. I don't have it anymore just because I think I might have played it out because I played it a ton. It goes over really well with new gamers, and I like it a lot. So that is 146, Archaeology, the New Expedition. 145 is another game from Queen. This is essentially the prequel, I guess, of sorts, to Fresco, and it is called Liguria, or Liguria. I'm not sure how you say it. It doesn't matter. It's called this. So what this game is it's a game where you are paint dealers and sellers, I guess, and you're trying to go around to these islands to collect different colors of paints, make agreements with the nobles, maybe get your guy on this island for some area control, and you're trying to bring these paints back to the mainland to fulfill these contracts of the painters of Michelangelo when he's painting in fresco, and just get the most points. It has a cool like bidding auction thing for turn order, and it has this cool card play mechanism that's going to determine how far you can move around in islands and stuff. It has some cool mechanisms, but essentially what it is, it's a pick up and deliver game at its heart. So if you like pick up and deliver and you like some interesting card play and you like queen games and like paying $9 for a game like I did with this one, maybe give this one a try. So my number 145, Liguria. 144, another game I don't have. I have a lot of games that I play that I don't have because I don't buy a ton of games. Well, and I get given a lot of not good games. So 144 is, I think 144. Yeah, 144 is a game from Final Frontier Games, I believe. And it is called Rise of Nobility. This is a dice worker placement game. So you're rolling some dice and you're sending these dice out to these different locations to earn resources, to fulfill contracts, to build buildings in this town. It's a pretty standard worker placement game, but it has this cool like player board mechanism where you can only have so many pips on your dice. So throughout the game you're trying to unlock more pips so you can do more things, but at some points if you roll dice that are too high, I believe you can't use that dice anymore. I may be wrong, but there's some penalty if you roll numbers that are too high. You can't use that action. So it has that kind of like the Euphoria thing, but I like it. It's fun. It looks really nice. It goes on maybe about 3 or 4 rounds too long, but it's enjoyable. So my number 144, Rise of Nobility. 143 is a game from Brotherwise Games. They've done Boss Monster, Call to Adventure, which is all the rage right now. And this is called Unearth. This is just the base game. I know there's an expansion, I believe. I don't have that. I just have the base game. But what this game is it's essentially, you have dice. You have a D4, a D8, some D6s, and maybe a D10. I don't know. But there's different shapes of dice. And what you're trying to do is you're rolling these dice to put these dice on these different like building cards. Each building card has a die value threshold, so it could be 14, 15, 16, whatever. Whenever that threshold is met, whoever has the most dice or highest die value on that die wins the card. What you're trying to do is you're trying to win cards to collect sets or one of every color to score some points. You're trying to also, on every one of these cards, there's these little gemstone things that you can collect, and you're doing this little tableau building where you're trying to get 6 hexes like in circles to get what are they called, what are these called, wonders. You're trying to get wonders in the middle that are going to be points at the end of the game. So it has some cool dice placement and some kind of tableau building set collection type thing to it. I enjoy it. So my number 143, Unearth. Number 142 is a 2-player only game, and it's one that was out of print for a while but came back in from Z-Man, and it is called Akrotiri. So if you don't know much about this game, it's okay because I don't know how popular it is. What this is it's a pick up and deliver game, I guess. I didn't think I liked those a bunch, but I do like it. So what you're trying to do is you're flipping these tiles down to make different island configurations and waterways. You're trying to move your boat around to collect resources to sell to get money, and you're trying to find these temples based on these map cards that you have to help you get points at the end of the game. The trick with the map cards is it has to be like, maybe you need to have a red island north, a green island, and then a blue island to that. So some configuration of that on the board, as long as you can fulfill that, you can put your temple down. The game's going to end when somebody puts down so many temples, and then just like every other game, whoever has the most points is the winner. This is a really fun game. I don't play it a ton just because it's kind of heady, and if I want to play a 2-player game, usually I'll get something that's not. I'll either play a big Euro at 2, or I'll play a lighter 2-player game. But this is good, and this is number 142, Akrotiri. 141 is a Cthulhu version of a game that I'm pretty sure I've already talked about on the top 100, and that game is Kingsburg, but this game is called Kingsport Festival. So what this is it really is just a Cthulhu version of Kingsburg. And what you're trying to do is you're rolling these dice, 3 dice still. You're rolling these dice and you're trying to invoke the powers of one of the other gods. And they're going to give you different type of resources. I think there's death, magic, violence, and hate or something like that. So they're all like evil things. And you're using these resources to build buildings on this shared map that are going to give you special powers. So unlike Kingsburg, everybody has their own player board, and this one, everybody's sharing the same board and putting the disc on the same board. The trick with this one is there's also cards. So sometimes you're going to be able to get cards that are from those 4 different categories, and they're going to give you extra abilities. It may add pips to some dice. It may let you get discounts when you're buying a building. It may fight off the investigators. Because in this one, like in Kingsburg, you're fighting off the baddies that come in, but in this one, you're fighting the investigators because they're trying to bust Cthulhu. So if you like Kingsburg, but you want maybe a little bit darker theme or it's a little heavier because it's got that card play. If you want something a little more, maybe check this out. It's usually on a pretty decent discount because I don't know if a ton of people like it, but I enjoy it. So that's my number 141, Kingsport Festival. Number 140 is a game all about whaling. Not a great theme in today's world, I guess, but irrelevant to me. I just like mechanisms. So that game is called New Bedford. I also have the expansion. I think you can see it right there. I have the expansion as well. So what this game is it's a game, it's kind of a worker placement game where you're going out to activate these buildings that are out on this shared board. It may be your building, it could be a communal building. If you use somebody else's building, you got to pay them a fee, so on and so forth. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be sending these boats out into the ocean. Depending on how deep you are is how many fish are going to come out or how many people are there. The longer you're out, the more fish you can get, but it's going to be more, cost more money because you're going to have more fish that you have to pay for. Fish, by fish I mean whales. And then you're just trying to have the most points and or money at the end of the game. It's a really fun game. It's easy to teach. It has, it's not difficult. It's basically a take resources, convert resources into other things, put your boats out, get some whales, determine what kind of whales you can keep and all that stuff. So if you like worker placement, kind of some push your luck by pulling things out of a bag, check this one out. So that is 140, New Bedford. 139 is a game from our boy, what is his name? I can't remember his name now. Quoth the Raven Nevermore. Oh, Edgar Allan Poe. And this game is called Masque of the Red Death. So what this game is it's essentially a deduction game. Players are in this like banquet hall, and they're trying to figure out where the Red Death is going to attack at midnight. And the way you're going to do that is by playing these cards that everybody has in their hand. Everybody has the same cards. Some cards you're going to play once and they're gone. Some cards you're going to be able to pick back up. And everybody has, I think, 1 or 2 cards that are specific to them, like a personality and maybe one other thing that you can play once in the game as well. So you're trying to figure out which cards are in. There's a display of, I think, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know. There's different times. Maybe 11, 11, 10, 11, 20, whatever. There's different times that have cards in there. And you're trying to figure out which cards are in there because those are the areas he's going to hit. So I guess they're all at midnight. So there's 12, 10, 12, 20, 12, 30, whatever. And that's where the Masque of the Red Death is going to, the Red Death is going to hit at those times. So you're trying to figure out what cards are there so you know at the end of the game when you're programming your movements of what room you want to be in to not be in those rooms. The trick here is you're only going to get to take 1 action over, I think, like 12 rounds. So you have about 12 rounds to get as much information as you can. It's really hard to get all that information, and sometimes you're going to be guessing. So if you like deduction and you like cool, dark Edgar Allan Poe themes, maybe check this one out. It's not super popular and it's kind of under the radar, but I think if you play it, you will enjoy it. So that is my number 139, Masque of the Red Death. 138 is a game from, I believe, Van Ryder Games, and it is called Saloon Tycoon. I can't talk today. What this game is it's a game where you're in the Wild West and you're trying to build up this town that you're running. So you're trying to get laundromats, gambling halls, poker rooms, schoolhouses, all that in this town, and you're trying to build them up. So I think you have 3-level buildings. So you're trying to get these cubes to put buildings on top. When you can do that, you get bonuses. The trick here is when you build some buildings, sometimes some outlaws will come into your town and they'll start negatively impacting you. Sometimes good people will come into your town, and that's good because you have these gold cards where you may need to have certain types of buildings, certain types of people, certain amount of money. So you're trying to hit those gold cards and all the while build up your town to get extra points. It's pretty light. It's kind of mean because you can steal a whole bunch of stuff from other people. so I don't play it a ton, but I do enjoy it. So if you like Wild West, you like building, you like gold cards, attacking other people, this might be the game for you. So that's my number 138, Saloon Tycoon. 137 is a game from Renegade. Now let me tell you this theme. This theme is a word game dungeon crawl. Yeah, that's right. It's paperback meets Descent, and it is called Spell Smashers. So essentially what you're doing in this is, it's basically a word game at its heart. So you have a hand of cards. You're going to have vowels and consonants, and you're trying to spell words. You're trying to spell words as long as you can, or as big as you can. And each word letter is going to have a different element. So I think there's fire, earth, water, and I think wild. So there's 4 or 5 different elements. And you're trying to use these words to attack these monsters that are coming up in this dungeon. Some of the monsters are immune to certain types of damage. Some are especially weak against certain types of damage. So you're trying to hit these monsters to get coins, or if you can kill them, then you're going to get this monster tile that has a letter on it that you always have to use, and you don't have to have a card. So you're trying to get all these trophies because they're worth points at the end of the game. You're trying to spell big words. Every time you get hit by the monster, though, you're going to take a wound card, which is going to be like ing words or ed or ish or whatever. They're just harder to add into your words, but when you use them, they're gone. If you can't use them by the end of the game, they're worth negative points. So after you play your cards and you attack the monsters, then you're going to go to the town, and you're going to be able to buy armor, quests that you can fulfill by doing certain things with words or defeating monsters or whatever. Buy some ale that's just worth points, and you can buy these potions and other things that will let you manipulate some cards into other letters and so on and so forth. This is a really fun game. It takes place over, I think, 5 rounds, so it doesn't go too long unless people get hung up on creating words, but just put that down. Who cares? So yeah, I like it. It's a really weird theme. Probably not a ton of people are going to like it because the theme is weird and they don't seem like they go together, but I like it. So my number 137, Spell Smashers. All right, so the last game I want to talk about on this list is a pretty new game, I think, and it is from Prospero Hall, hashtag who is Prospero Hall, and it is called Horrified. So this is a cooperative game, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I do like some. And here's what I'm going to talk about. So what you're doing in this game is you are, I think, just random townsfolk, and you're trying to take out these 1960s like MGM style monsters like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Werewolf, Dracula, all that stuff. And you're trying to take them out before they can hit their win condition and cause you to lose. So maybe when you're fighting Dracula, you have to kill all of his coffins. When you're fighting the swamp creature, you have to get this boat down this path to find a secret location and go in there and kill him. So it has the typical pandemic style of actions. You can take 4 actions and you can like move, give people stuff, pick up things, the normal stuff. But then after every player's turn, you're going to flip a card that's going to activate one of the monsters. If it's a monster you have out, it might fire off a couple times. It may not fire off at all. Sometimes they'll do bad things. Well, almost every time they do bad things, but sometimes they're not as bad. So typical, you're going to play the game a little bit. It's going to slap you around, and you just got to slap the game around a little bit better than it slaps you around. So if you like co-op games and you think that theme is cool, like the old 1950s, 60s monster theme, then maybe check this one out. Because Pandemic theme is kind of bleh, but this theme is cool. So I dig it. So that's my number 136, Horrified. All right, so that was the next installment of the Top 100, Beyond the 100. And maybe next time I come back, it'll be with Katie. I'm trying to get all this wrapped up in 2 more weeks before the podcast Top 100 is over. So we'll see how that happens, because I said I would do it. I can do it. I know I can do it. So yeah, thanks for watching. And next time you see me, it'll be with Katie on one of these sides, and we'll discuss more games. Keep gaming.